Well, I'm over in the shop today. Need to do some work on the choppers. I had a crack in the frame last time I used it, and then I brought it back down here to the farm shop to weld it up. Now you'll see over here, I decided to go on and change the blades while I was at it. These blades are just 1/4 inch thick steel. These are wore down to about 3 inches wide, and you can see the wear ring here where it was mounted, that I've only got about a 1/2 inch of usable blade left. Some of them are even worse. This is the front side of the blade. This is the back. You can see here there's not even the width of my finger, maybe a 1/4 inch or so of wear surface left. And what that'll do is the chopper starts holding itself up off the ground, so the blade can't actually do a good job cutting. Plus it starts wearing other parts, and you see this, how it's wore out, bulging there. I've already made several new blades. These are 1/4 inch thick steel plate, 6 inches wide. So you can see they're just sort of ground down to an edge. Now, of course, grinding off that much steel over the width of this thing, and I can't believe how much bigger this chopper looks with new blades when they're out there like they should be. Here I'm in the middle of making a new blade. I use the old blade as a guide, burn the torch hole, torch the holes in it for the bolts. And then I just finished doing the initial cut for the edge. I got to chip all the slag off, and to do that, what I do is I use this old blade clamped up on the back side here with the vice grips and a welding grip up there, and use that as a torch guide. Lay the torch over and just burn it off to approximate 60-degree angle. Between 45 and 60 is fine. And then once that's done, I'll dress this with the grinder, and it'll come out like this one. So there's a few little nicks in it, but they'll wear in. These blades are self-sharpening as they go. And over here, I welded up the crack, and I decided to go on and put in a reinforcing piece here of 4x4 angle, because these hitches that I added, these angle iron hitches that pull the two rear choppers, they put a lot of stress on that rear frame. And this thing is between 60 and 70 years old. I mean, these were manufactured probably, this is a Ed Caldwell company. And you can see it cast on the spider, Ed Caldwell, Corpus Christi, Texas. So there's a foundry down there that poured these cast iron spiders and the cast iron bearing caps, and I don't know if it's Babbitt in there or bronze bushing, but either way, it's like kind of like the old railroad, what they used to call box bearings. And you just grease the snot out of them, and it's kind of labyrinthine in here because the housing actually sticks up into this cup, so the grease comes out and goes around. It helps seal the dirt out and all of that. So anyway, once I get that back together, once I make the last couple of 3 blades and get them installed, then I'll use the loader to turn this thing over, and then I'll do the welds at the top of that reinforcing channel. Probably going to move that old hitch there back, because that is kind of handy at times. If what I did when I made this, these you'll notice I cut those ears, cut them off to make an ear. That allows this angle iron to fold up, and because originally the Farm & Shiner had a lot of old fences and stuff, and you couldn't get through some of the gates with about a 20-foot wide series of 3 choppers, because these blades are 6 feet wide, so it's about 18 feet of chop, but of course you got all this extra hanging off the end here with the bearings and the frame and stuff to support it. So I made that to where you could fold those wings up, hook a chain between them, and then pull the center chopper through the gate, unfold it, pull your rear choppers back up and re-hitch them, and then chop the next section. Of course, we've taken out all those old cross fences, so I haven't even folded it up in years. But I've been using this thing since the early 90s, so, and this is the first maintenance that I've done on this one. So the blades were wore down. They probably wore down a good inch since I bought it. And I'm not sure exactly what size blades these came with originally. These are wore down, some of them about 3 inches wide. Some of them are 3.5 or so. I mean, you know, it's there's 7 blades on there, and as long as they were cutting, I was like, why bother? But then I was like, well, they were about wore out the last time I used it. They worn even more since I was using it this year. And I said, well, if I got to haul it down here to the farm shop and do a bunch of welding and stuff on it, I might as well just go on and make the blades for it anyway. So, but I'm not sure if these came originally with they wouldn't have been a 4, because these are wore down to about 3. This one is about 3. So a 4-inch blade wouldn't have been but out to about here. 5-inch blade would have been out to about here. And these 6s are pretty good size. I've got a chopper in the pasture, another one like this that I bought, basically saved it from a junkyard, because most of these have gone to scrap iron. But they still work great. Anyway, that one has 6-inch blades on it, so I decided, well, I'll go with 6-inch blades, and these will outlast me. I'll be in the junkyard before this thing needs new blades. So anyway, time to get the beaten slag off of that, and then take the grinder and dress the edge down pretty nice, and they come out pretty good. So I guess that's about enough for this one, and see if we can get all this done. I got to weld up the hitch holes, because they've gotten real beat out, egged out over the years. I've got some flat steel plate in there, and somewhere rattling around here I got a piece of tubing. I'm going to cut some little bushings, weld it into the patch to double this up, double the thickness, put a new piece coming out. Then I'll lop the ears off the corners there to where it doesn't bind or anything in a turn. Weld it all in, flip it over, and then weld up the egged out hole up to the bushing. So that ought to make that sturdy enough to outlast me. As this, you can tell by this hole here, I made this stuff just out of scrap I had laying around, to tell you the truth. I mean, I bought the angle, but this is actually a piece off of a channel iron. When I built a trailer, and I notched some channel irons to nest together into a trailer frame and stuff, and that was little scrap pieces, and I welded that on there to keep the hitches aligned with the frame as it turns. Anyway, that's it for today. Talk to you later.